Welcome to footballgameplan.com, where football makes sense. I'm Emery Hunt, the czar of the playbook, bring you our FCS Game of the Week preview between the Tennessee State Tigers and the Jacksonville State Gamecocks. Now let's take a look at some keys to victory for both teams, starting with the Tigers.
Tennessee State has ripped off 5 straight victories, and they're doing it with a well-balanced offensive attack and a smothering defense. On offense, what a year both running backs Telvin Hooks and Tim Broughton are having. Both guys are over 5.5 yards a carry, and since quarterback Michael German's return, he hasn't thrown an interception. And on defense, the play of their front seven has been phenomenal. It's very tough to move the football on the Tigers, and this week versus Jacksonville State, linebacker Nick Thrasher and company will have their hands full versus a very potent ground game of the Gamecocks. Now let's move over to Jacksonville State in this ball game, and I love the way the Gamecocks play football. Their offensive attack is built heavily around the ground game, and they take timely shots downfield off of play action. It's a formula that has led them to an impressive 5-1 start on the season. Their offensive line does a great job blowing you off the ball. Defensively, I'm a big fan of their secondary. The way they can match up defensively with their corners and safeties gives them a lot of flexibility in what types of pressures and stunts they can send up front. And that secondary does a great job, and they will have a huge test this week versus an All-American candidate and tight end A.C. Leonard of Tennessee State. The X factor for Tennessee State will be their run defense. If you can't stop what the Gamecocks bring to the table on the ground, you won't win this ball game. So that front seven, which I mentioned before, is phenomenal. We'll have to step up and have their best game of the season to knock off Jacksonville State. For the Gamecocks, the X factor will be their passing game. Can they take those timely shots downfield early just to loosen up that box so that way they can run the football? They're going to have to connect to some passes deep down the field very early against this Tigers defense. Now here are some coaching points for both teams in this ball game. For Tennessee State, you want to dictate the tempo offensively. You want to put Jacksonville State's defense in the bind by dictating how fast or how slow you want to move the football up and down the field. And I would gamble versus the run more so this week than any other week because they are a team that can really run the rock. They're run heavy. Take some chances, trust your secondary. And speaking of that secondary, you can't fall asleep back there in coverage. Otherwise, you're going to get gashed by that timely big play downfield off play action pass. Now for Jacksonville State, I will go with a lot of misdirection versus the aggressive front seven of Tennessee State. Gives you an opportunity to hit a big play on the ground. And I would combo cover the outstanding tight end A.C. Leonard, double team him, force those receivers on the flanks to consistently make plays. And you can't lose contained defensively because they do have 2 backs in the backfield that have the speed to take the distance. Now here are some 2014 draft prospects you want to keep an eye on in this ball game for Tennessee State. We've talked about this before. Tight end A.C. Leonard is one of the best tight end prospects in the country, regardless of division. Quarterback Michael German has done a great job so far leading this football team and hasn't thrown an interception so far this season. Linebacker Nick Thrasher will be all over the football field this week versus the Gamecocks. Now for Jacksonville State, you look at running back DeMarcus James. Waited his turn last year behind Washaun Ely and now is making the most of it, one of the best running backs in the FCS level, at the FCS level. And cornerback and strong safety Robert Gray, Pierre Warren, 2 outstanding secondary players in the OVC, do a great job not only in run support but also in matching up one-on-one versus receivers and tight ends. Joe Gilliam Jr., a.k.a. Jefferson Street Joe, was an outstanding quarterback, one of the best quarterbacks in college football history from 1969 to 1972, was a 2-time All-American, compiled a 39-3 record as a starter, and led Tennessee State to 2 Black College National Championships, and in 1972 was a National Black College Player of the Year. Cornerback Eric Davis was an outstanding player for the Gamecocks from 1986 to 1989, was a consensus All-Gulf South Conference performer, and is a member of the All-Decade team of the 80s, and as a senior was able to come away with 6 interceptions. And what would be a great clash of the Titans meeting in the OVC? I like Tennessee State to win this ball game. A much more well-balanced offensive attack plus a very stout defensive front seven. I think that right there is a recipe for success versus the Gamecocks on the road.